What's up, nerds? My name's Corey Bergeron. You are watching Corey Bergeron Recordings, and we're back with a brand new video. I mix a lot of music, and I'm constantly being sent multi-tracks from different artists. It's increasingly common for these artists to be recording themselves, which I think is a great thing, but it's also increasingly common for me to receive files that are less than adequate and ultimately limit my ability to do a quality mix. Not to be dramatic, but the vocal recording in some cases can ruin the entire production. And generally, what's the most important part of any song? It's the vocals, so you're going to want to get it right. In this video, I am going to talk about the most common mistakes I see when I am sent a multi-track to mix, and I will show you how to avoid them the next time that you are recording vocals. I will do my best to make it clear and easy to understand, so any individual watching this video of any skill level should be able to walk away with a better understanding of how to achieve a better vocal recording, and I will do my best to use examples to demonstrate how to achieve the best result. So let's jump into it. If you're going to be recording vocals, you will need to use a microphone. What microphone should you choose? I did a quick Google search asking what qualities a great microphone has, and this is what popped up. The talent should feel confident and relaxed when holding the microphone. The hands must not feel tired, even after holding the mic for hours. Two important things to consider are the shape of the handle and the amount of friction on the surface. These characteristics contribute to the comfort of using the microphone for long periods of time. That advice is not going to help you much. I'm often asked, I plan on using
insert budget microphone name.
Do you think you can work with it and make it sound good? And the answer is, I don't know, I'd have to hear it. In the most ideal situation, it would be great to shoot out a combination of the most renowned microphones that have ever existed on planet Earth and listen to them, have the singer sing into each one and understand which one complements the singer's voice and which one complements the track and which one complements the creative direction that this track is going in and make the decision based on those factors. The truth is, most people aren't in that situation and they're typically going to just use whatever microphone that they have. Personally, I have not used a lot of the budget microphones that are on the market today, but I do know that budget-friendly equipment has come a long way, and you can certainly get great recordings with cheaper microphones. Now, when it comes to using a dynamic microphone versus a condenser microphone, I generally prefer to use a dynamic microphone in an untreated environment. In my experience, dynamic microphones can generally handle louder sources, and they are better in less than ideal recording environments, which I'll talk about a little later in this video. If I'm here recording vocals in this studio, I will typically either use this Shure SM7B, and I'll use this if I'm kind of tracking in the control room and run and gun style recording, or if I'm recording someone that's like screaming or yelling really loud. And if I'm recording in the live room and I'm set up in a stationary kind of recording setting and I want to record, a soft, gentle vocal and record all the detail, I will use my Neumann TLM 103. So to sum up, mic selection, you can make it as complicated as you want, or you can make it as simple as you want, but ultimately, if the microphone sounds good, then it is good, and use it, don't overthink it, and just keep moving forward. So now that you have a microphone selected, let's talk about general recording practices and techniques. This may be very obvious for some people out there, but it's worth mentioning because I see this mistake made. Do your best to not clip your preamp when you are recording your vocals, unless you're intentionally trying to clip your preamp because you like the way that it sounds. But in 99% of cases that I see a preamp being clipped, it's usually out of negligence. Often when people get their first, budget interface, they ask me, where should I set the gain when I'm recording my vocal? And green is clean. You want to get a healthy amount of signal, but you want to make sure that you are not clipping. And you also want to make sure that you don't have it so low that it's introducing a bunch of noise into the signal. So you want it somewhere in the middle there. Don't be afraid to change it. If you're singing a soft part, you can turn the gain up. If you're singing a loud part, you can turn the gain down. This is another thing not to overthink. If you're using any sort of, budget preamp or any sort of clean preamp that doesn't really saturate or color the signal, don't overthink it. Just get it to where it's not clipping, where it's not introducing noise, and you're good to go. Here's another kind of silly but simple one that is worth addressing. Please use a mic stand. Don't hold the microphone when you are recording your vocals because it sounds like this. You can hear that there's a bunch of noise being introduced as I move it around, a little low-end rumble. That is all bad. Having the mic set up on a mic stand avoids all that. Make sure you're not tapping your foot because that'll make the mic stand move, which will make the mic move, and it'll introduce a bunch of sound into the signal, which is not good. So avoid that. Use mic stand. Also, you don't want to have any headphone bleed in the microphone while you're recording. You'd be amazed at how many vocal files I'm sent where it sounds like the singer was singing in a room with the speakers on. This is not good. You don't want to do this. Avoid this at all costs. If you're looking at buying headphones to use when you're tracking vocals, make sure that they are closed back headphones and that they isolate what you're hearing in your ears from the microphone. That's what you want. If a singer takes a headphone off, I know if I'm like recording vocals in there, I personally like to do that. Make sure that they're not leaving it open. Make sure it's against their head and that there is no bleed in the vocal mic. Headphone bleed in the vocal mic, bad, especially if it's like click bleed. It's bad. The next thing is you are probably going to want to use a pop filter. I know a bunch of like great engineers that avoid using pop filters, but they have the ears to hear if there's a problem, and they know how to position the singer in a way where the plosives aren't problematic. So we've all heard it. If I talk into this microphone here, it's not good. I have a low cut on this microphone, so I don't know how much is coming through, but it can destroy your mix. So you want to use a pop filter, which is something you put in front of the microphone, and it essentially stops that loud sound pressure from hitting the diaphragm and overloading it and destroying your vocal recording. Now, one thing I find is people will use a pop filter, but they don't actually listen to if it's making a difference. So you can actually have a pop filter set up and loud P's can still come through. So you want to put the pop filter up and then test is it actually remedying the problem? If it's not, one fun little technique that I've seen over the years is that you can put a pencil and tape it to the pop filter right in the center. So essentially it is splitting the sound pressure and splitting the air so it's not hitting the diaphragm directly. And that's a tip that you can use if you are finding that when you record vocals, the P's are bad and destroying your vocal recordings. Another thing worth mentioning is that if the singer's S's are really sharp and ear-piercing, you can do your best to try and address it with the singer so they're performing it and making the S's a little softer. But another thing you can do if you're using a condenser microphone is you can tilt it backwards a little bit. And essentially what that does is that distance between the diaphragm can phase out some of those really loud S's. That was a tip that was shared with me by another producer. Truthfully, I don't have a lot of experience with it, but something worth trying if you do find that the S's are really problematic in the recording. Another thing that needs to be considered is the proximity effect. This is a phenomenon where there is an increase in the amount of low frequencies the closer a source is to a cardioid microphone. So in front of me, this is a cardioid microphone. As I move back, you're going to hear less low end in my voice. And as I get closer to the microphone, you are going to hear that there is more body being introduced to the vocal recording. Now, the proximity effect isn't a right or wrong thing. You can use it creatively, but if you're not aware of it, you can cause a lot of problems. So here are two common issues I see when I receive tracks that other people have recorded. Number one, the singer sings everything way too close to the microphone, and there is an abundance of low end in the vocal recording. This is a real mess to mix. It's really common for singers to want to sing close to the microphone because they hear all the warmth in their voice and they hear it in their headphones and their voice sounds full and big and they like that. But when you're mixing vocals in a dense mix, they are going to start occupying the space that the kick drum and the snare drum and the bass guitar need to occupy. If you move the microphone away from the source, or the source away from the microphone, you'll notice that there is less low end in the recording and you can actually mix yourself better into the track just by the distance from the microphone. This is a bit of a balancing act and it might take some experienced ears to really kind of fine tune it and find the sweet spot, but it's something worth experimenting with. You don't need to do anything extreme. You can move back a couple inches, move forward a couple inches, and just see how the vocal sits in the track. By moving close to it, you're essentially like EQing a low shelf into the vocal, and by moving back, you're taking that away. So if you find that the vocal sounds like it's taking up way too much space, you can move yourself back and see how that fits in the track. And by using the distance, you're essentially EQing your vocal into the track. The second issue that I commonly see in relation to the proximity effect when I receive files is that the singer sang all their vocal takes in different positions and different distances away from the microphone. This creates an inconsistent vocal tone, and it makes a real mess for me on my end because my job is to make the vocal sound balanced and level, like it's all one beautiful take. and I have to make a bunch of different tracks with different processing on them to try and make them all sound like they were sung in the same position, and it's all part of one big performance. In general, once you find that sweet spot, make note of it and try and record all your vocals there. I will say, if you are recording harmonies or any sort of background vocal that you want to sit behind the lead vocal, what you can do is you can move away from the microphone to track those vocals, so you're naturally EQing out some of that low end and that body, and they will naturally, without any further processing, sit behind the lead vocal. So now let's talk about the room and the environment that you're recording vocals in. This is probably the most common issue I run into when I am mixing a track, is the vocals are recorded in a less than ideal room, and there's tons of noise in the vocal recording, and when I compress the vocals, it brings up all that noise and it makes it so I can't create a nice, in-your-face, intimate vocal, and it destroys the mix. Your goal when you are recording vocals should be to record in the most acoustically dead environment possible. The reason you want to do that is so that there is no ambience after you're singing, so when you compress it, you have complete control over the compression, and then when you want to add ambience into the vocal, like you want to apply reverb, you want to apply delay, you have complete control over that environment in the box. That is an ideal situation, unless, of course, you have an amazing sounding room, you're recording Adele, and you're trying to capture some natural room ambience. In 99% of the cases, if you're tracking in a home studio, you want a dead sounding acoustic environment. You don't want to hear a furnace, you don't want to hear the fans in your computer, you don't want to hear your air conditioning. You don't want anything humming in the background. So I'm going to show you an example here of a vocal in a less than ideal environment. I'll show it to you dry, and then I'll show it to you with compression so you can hear how compression brings out all the problems of an untreated room. And then I will show you in an acoustically dead room, no compression, and then with compression, and you can hear how it's not bringing up the problems, and you're able to pin that vocal and get it to the front of your mix and make it sound super in your face. Just check it out. What's up? I'm now in a hallway. I can hear the fan, and I'm speaking very close to the microphone. But yeah, there's air conditioning going on. There's some background noise, people walking down this hallway, and this is me talking, and I'm really embarrassed to be doing this right now. So this is all I'm going to say. Now you're going to hear what it sounds like compressed. But yeah, there's air conditioning going on. There's some background noise, people walking down this hallway, and this is me talking, and I'm really embarrassed to be doing this right now. So this is all I'm going to say. What's up? So we are in ISO booth A. This is a room that was designed to be as soundproof as possible. So Taylor just gave you a quick look around. We're on a floating floor, so there's no vibrations from the other room. The ducts are acoustically sealed. We have this light in the camera, and we have our mic cabinet. So those are the physical things, couple cables. But other than that, everything in here, besides the doors probably, is designed to kill the sound. There's air gaps between the walls. Okay, so this is me talking. I'm talking into the Neumann microphone. I'm speaking maybe 1 foot away from it. I don't have a pop filter. I'm speaking at a medium volume, and there you go. That's what you hear. Now you're going to hear it compressed. I'm speaking maybe 1 foot away from it. I don't have a pop filter. I'm speaking at a medium volume, and but yeah, there's air conditioning going on. There's some background noise, people walking down this hallway. I don't have a pop filter. I'm speaking at a medium volume, and this is me talking, and I'm really embarrassed to be doing this right now. So there you go. Even a small amount of ambience when you compress it can just ruin a mix. And yes, there are de-reverb plugins. I like to use Ozone's de-reverb, but you can only use it a little bit before it starts turning the vocal into a Zoom call sounding EQ and destroys the fidelity of the recording. So don't rely on any sort of de-reverb plugin. You want to eliminate the room. How do you eliminate the room? It depends on your situation, because I don't know where you're recording, but let me break this down a little bit. When I'm talking, right now, my voice is hitting, there's a speaker right in front of me, so it's hitting that speaker, and it's bouncing backwards, and then it's going to hit the wall behind me, and then it's going to bounce back this way and go back into the microphone, and it's going to do that in every single direction. So you see a lot of products on the market, it's like a vocal shield or a portable vocal booth is what they call it, and what that's essentially doing is killing the wall behind the microphone. Which is good, that's important. But what it's not addressing is the wall behind you. So when there's sound it hits the wall in front of you or to the sides and then bounces off the wall behind you, it still goes back into the microphone. So if you have like drywall behind you or any sort of flat reflective surface, it's probably creating some sort of issue. So what I generally recommend, I don't know what you have in your house, but you got to get resourceful. You can throw blankets, thick blankets, you can throw couch cushions, do whatever you can to put acoustically absorbent things behind you that will absorb the sound and kill any sort of reflection so that there's nothing hitting that wall behind you and going back into the microphone. Again, an ideal situation is no reflections. So there you are. I hope that was insightful. I know a lot of that seemed maybe very simple or obvious, but you'd be amazed at how often I see these mistakes happen. And I wanted to create this video as a bit of a resource so I can send it to people and be like, hey, avoid all these things and your vocal recordings will be much better. As you can tell, I only focused on the vocal recording side, the vocalist and the microphone. I didn't talk about the performance of the vocal, how to capture the best performance. I didn't talk about any sort of editing or cleaning up vocals once you get them in the computer, but I'm happy to break that all down. So if you are interested in any of those things, how to arrange vocals, let me know in the comment section down below any questions you might have, and I will include those answers in a future video. If you have any questions about anything I talked about in this video or anything you'd like to add, also leave that in the comment section down below. Let's do our best to help each other so we can get the best sounding recordings. And there we go. I hope you learned something. I hope that was insightful. If you like it, make sure to like and subscribe. We're trying to hit 10,000 subscribers. We're getting pretty close, I think. And I will see you in the next video.
In the next video, you are gonna see some more of me because it's Corey Burger on recordings.